Okay, this is episode 7 of The Whale. Welcome to another night in the shop. Let's see if we can get some of this floor work at least started. Remember, I'm no expert. Okay, so a couple spots on the floor here. You can see here it's kind of humped up, and it's even worse on that side. Obviously, did some four-wheel drive action at some point. So I need to hammer this down if I can. And so I can get it as flat as it's supposed to be, and then maybe make a pattern. So let's just see how this is going to go. Look at that. Maybe one more along here. And there's a spot here. We'll see if that might be a hard one. Well, it definitely flattened out the floor, and I'll try and go over to the other side and see if I can do any damage over there. Okay, so you can probably see the curvature here. So yeah, I need to get that flat. So we'll try this again. The first time worked exceptionally well, but this one's a lot worse. So I think I'll try here first.
Rock that piece of wood back and forth so people can see that.
Yeah.
Can see that it's, yeah.
I'm sorry, Whale. This hurts me more than it's going to hurt you. Look at that. So we'll try here. I tried at the edge of the dent, and then we'll get to the worst part here. So much better. Probably maybe one more right there. A little bit. I'll go this way with the rib. So you can see the difference now, eh? How that was rocking, and now it's flat. So I think that'll be flat enough for me to make a pattern. I'm going to measure this, trace it out, and try my bead roller and put these in and see if I can do this. Okay, so we got some cardboard. We're going to make a template of the floor and transfer it onto this piece of sheet metal. It's fairly thick, which is ideal for floors. Looks to be about 18 gauge or so, so fairly thick. So we'll transfer, we'll cut the piece out. This is a bead roller. I got this from Princess Auto. Definitely not, professional quality, but good enough for a hack like me. Princess Auto in Canada would be the same as Harbor Freight in the US. They sell, cheaper line tools, Chinese stuff, but, a lot of it is decent enough that it'll get you by. So it's mounted to this vise on this cart. I've got a sheet covering another project. This is the automatic. I've got a 74 Roadrunner GTX. You haven't seen that car yet on the channel, but that will be coming up. Anyway, this is the automatic for it. It decided to lose reverse. I've never done a transmission before, so I'm going to learn. I've always wanted to learn. Read lots of books and, watched lots of YouTube. I'm getting familiar with the parts, but anyway, it's pretty much stripped apart, but that'll be a future episode. So now we are going to get busy improving floors. Like my wife said, carpet is your friend. Okay, so I took some measurements. We'll go 11 by 26. Now this is just a rough template type thing, so it's not like it has to be exact, but it's probably not the straightest. Never do this on your sports car. just getting the rough size. Then I will cut it to fit, you know, once I'm close. Okay, so I've got my template, and there's a seam right here where the two metals come together, and it's overlapped. So I'll do an overlap as well. And then running under the floor, directly under here, is a boxed section. So if the floor is like this boxed section underneath looks like that. Now, obviously for strengthening, because there's another one on that side. So I will do this floor, then we'll do this floor, overlap them, weld them together, and then I will make this box section underneath for strength, just like factory. So I'm going to attempt to make it close to how it looks, but you know, it won't be exact, and nobody will know except for you guys. So this fits in here. Now it's going to curve up a bit on this side, a little bit on this side, and then on this front edge, you see this plane here, so it's going to come up like that. And then we'll probably have to slit the corners because of the curves. But we're going to start with that. I'm going to transfer that to the metal now. Okay, I've got my metal set out. Again, this is not perfectly straight or anything, but we just want to get it close so then we can hammer and bash it and bend it once we're in back in the car. Now that didn't trace very well. Felt marker's not the best, but just give me an idea. I have a metal shear that I've never really used much over here, and right here. So it's a 3-in-1 machine, and I'm probably going to end up using a fair bit of it if I'm going to be making panels. So we got a shear under here, and then we got this. It's like a V shape there. This is for doing your bends, straight bends, like your 90s and your 45s and all that. And then we got this up here for rolling curves. There's 3 of these, one on the back side, and you can put curves in your metal. So I bought it years ago, never really used it, but first time for everything. Okay, so I'm going to probably put the narrow side in first. So we'll line this up here, and we'll see how well this works. This is Chinese tools, but it's going to be better than me using tin snips. So these, yeah, so that looks about right. So
okay.
I think this metal might be just slightly too thick for this machine, but I'm halfway through now.
Yep.
Okay. So this edge has to come up, this edge, and along here. And basically I'm just eyeballing it. The seam, the factory seam where they overlap, I'm going to use that as a guide to line this panel up. And then what I'm going to do with my felt, I'm just going to mark where I'm going to cut in the corners and make like a pie cut, because the panel's got to come together but at an angle. So we'll just basically eyeball this. And again, remember, I'm no professional. And I think something like that. Okay, and then we just get the snips, and we'll do a couple cuts. And I've got that machine bends as well, so I'm not sure if we'll use that or if we'll just do some softer bends. But and then if you end up cutting too much as far as the pie cuts or anything, you just weld it back up. There. Yeah, we'll try that. This is the finest in guesstimation. the downside to working with such thick metal is, you know, it's harder to work with as far as cutting and stuff. But I think you want thicker metal on a floor, so you know, it's probably a good plan. So basically I'm flying by the seat of my pants here. I got this lined up just where this here and this here flattens out. So I'm going to give it a whack with a hammer, and I'm hoping it'll guide me as to what the shape needs to be. So let's see how this is going to work. So you can see a bit of a thing here. Now I use my seam as a straight edge to line the panel, and I'm going to try it again right here. Kind of line up there. I think it tapers a bit, but we'll go like this. And let's see what this will get me. Maybe in trouble. So you see it's starting to take shape to what it needs to be here, but I just need to know roughly, and then I can fine tune it a bit. And you see how these pie cuts work, hey? You do it in the corner and they start to overlap, which they have to do because they're coming up. So if this works out, I'm going to look like some kind of a genius expert, but really it's just going to be pure fluke. And then I'm going to put it there and we'll try that. Plug your ears. Again, you can see I've put a bin there, so this is going to give me a guide as to where we got to be. And probably going to grab some kind of wide flange vice grips and help this along to make it a little more defined like this is. But this is going to give me, you know, the rough shape. And then what I'll do is I'm going to trace in these strengthening grooves. We're going to try it on the bead roller here. I'm not sure how the bead roller is going to work with this thick metal. I've been watching a YouTube channel. It's called Fitzy's Fabrications. He's on the east coast of Canada, and he does metal work on cars, and they're basically how-to videos as opposed to, say, this, which is just you guys can sit home and laugh at what I'm doing. You know, entertainment. Anyway, I watch his channel, and it's very interesting how he does stuff. And he makes sure he does it with minimal tools because he wants to be able to show that anybody can do this. So maybe that's where I got some of these ideas from as far as, you know, doing it this way. But, you know, if it works, it works. So I'm going to maybe put a little more bend in these here now that I got the guides with the pliers, and basically trial and error and kind of keep fitting it. So this was my initial plan, was to use these with the flange and bend it down. The problem is they're too shallow. I need to bend here and not here. So I put the 2x4 underneath here. Got it roughly here along the edge. So I'm going to try and define it better with this. This is a deadbolt hammer. You can hear it in there. So I would like to hopefully be able to bend this without putting big dents in the metal. That's what I'm going to try and do anyway. So yeah, it's just denting. I think it's just the way it's going to be here. Let me try and get this. I want to wreck my curve here on the end. Probably something like that. So I could actually go and buy these panels. They are hand formed, similar to this, but by, you know, much better qualified people. And they're probably, I did look them up, I can't remember exactly what they were, but they were I think like each section was like $200 US. Now you convert that to Canadian, that's about $1 billion. And I'm not a billionaire, so. So I just had an epiphany. I was just thinking I should screw this panel to the floor so it doesn't move. And then I could try and tap these corners in to get them a little more accurate. And then I'll trim them up here because this comes down like that. But we'll see how this works.
Yep.
Trying to line this hole up. Okay, that one's down. We get one more in the end here. So hopefully that'll hold it enough to be able to pound out those corners. And look at that. Who says this isn't a dangerous job?
It's sharp stuff.
Sharp stuff. I don't even know how I did it, but... Okay, so I got it screwed down. Hopefully that'll hold a bit. And I'm just going to try and push the metal into the corner so it gets a better, little more definite curve to it. This here kind of flares out here a bit, so a little more difficult to shape. It seems to be coming around. Again, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just taking it as it goes here. So I'd mentioned the YouTube channel Fitzy's Fabrications, and one thing I really picked up on from him, which was quite smart, and it's basically why I thought of this. He says most people will cut the whole rusty area out and then try and make a floor pan. And his theory was, and it's a good one, is you leave it in place and you use it to make your new panel. And then once you've made your new panel, then of course you cut to fit. So pretty good piece of advice. So what I'm going to do now, this has all been undercoating, all this black, so I'm just going to trace where the panel is now. And then I'm going to have a look and see how far I can trim. Like I can probably trim a lot of this off and maybe a little lower here. I'll just see what's underneath there and how far I can go down. And then, so I'll cut this, take this up, have a look there. I'll trim it down and then I'll screw it down again and just keep tapping away. And then once all that's done, I'm going to attempt to make the strengthening grooves on the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, so I pulled this panel off. I seen that I could trim a little bit off of here. And then I put a little slit here because there's a bit of a transition. So I'll whack that down. See if I can get this a little flatter in the corners there. And then we'll pop this off and make the strengthening ribs. Yeah, there's a bit of a curve there and we can just zip that up with the welder. Pulls away there, but I think when you weld it, it'll suck down. I think that could go down. Now in the past, whenever I've bought floor panels, I would overlap them because it's a lot easier that way and it probably adds a little bit of strength, but it just doesn't look as good. So I might try butt welding this. So basically you would get it all screwed in place or fitted, clamped in place, And then you use your angle grinder with the thin, really thin disc. And what you do is you just cut through both pieces, so that way the metal follows each other's shape. You get the perfect, distance like this. And then you just weld them together. And then you go down and cut some more, weld it together. And then you do that enough times, pretty soon your panel's in. Okay, so I think we're close here. I'm gonna press these down and I'm gonna mark, oh, something sharp there. I'm gonna mark where I can trim this panel, because these slits here are overlapped. And we'll see where we're at there. That one's okay. This one, like that. Okay, I'll pull this off. Okay, so here's the panel. You can see we got a relatively straight edge. It follows the form of the floor. So what I'll do here is these overlap because of the cut. So I'm just gonna trim the excess metal here and there, and then I'll just weld those back up. Same with here, you can see how it's overlapped. So I'll cut that and then weld it into shape. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and mimic the ribs that are in there. They won't be exact, but nobody will know. And then I'll go over to the bead rolling machine and see if that'll work. One of the things that Fitzy's Fabrication, what he recommended, is using a English wheel on here to stretch and thin the metal. And that way, when you put your ribs in, the extra metal has a place to go. Because what happens is, if you use just flat metal like this and put it in there, it'll want to twist and deform the panel. So I don't have an English wheel yet. I've got my eye on one. I just gotta go and get it. But I'm thinking maybe because of this extra metal going up, it might limit the distortion. So I'm gonna try putting the ribs in there and we'll see what happens. Okay, so we got I roughly drew lines in to like they were on that one. They're not exact, they're just roughly the same, angle and length and shape. We got it mounted in the bead roller. I've never used this before, and I've never used a bead roller before, so we're just gonna wing it and see what happens. So Sean is gonna crank this. It's a two-person job, and I'll steer the metal.
Am I pulling it or pushing?
Pushing.
Holy Hannah.
Is it too tight? There we go. There we go.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it'll get easier. The first pull will be the hardest. Okay. Okay, you're...
Not working?
I think you were leaning on there. Oh, maybe that's this doing that. Okay, keep going. Oh, I think it's too tight. Go back the other way. Okay, I'm gonna have to loosen the jaw. I think I got it a little too tight. We can't even, the metal is slipping in the jaws here, so maybe we'll go a little looser and then tighten as we go gradually. Okay, so we're back. We had a little bit of phone problems with storage and stuff, but anyway, so we had to do the bead rolling off the camera just because of time constraints. So as you can see, we mimicked roughly what the factory does. This gives it a lot of strength, but what I had mentioned earlier with Fitzy's Fabrications is he suggested going over the area with an English wheel, which thins and stretches the metal, and then when you put these in, it gathers it back up. Because what happens here, and these help for strength to minimize warpage, but this whole side here is just doing this, is because the metal's all stretched. So hopefully we can continue and use this one, because there's that channel I got to make for underneath, and I'll make sure it's really tight and try and get this flat when we weld it. But I think what we'll do is, I've got a line on an English wheel off a friend. We won't make any more panels just because this is a problem. Actually, we don't want the oil can, the stretched metal to give the oil can effect. But anyway, you can see roughly what we're going to do. I think it turned out pretty good for amateur hack. And Maybe we'll go on to some mechanical stuff until I can secure the English wheel, and then we'll get back on the floor panels. Okay, it was another night with a few hours in the shop. It takes a lot longer to make those panels than a person thinks. But anyway, we got one done. And of course, as you make more, you get better. So I'll get that English wheel squared away. But anyway, that's it for tonight. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Have a good night.
Oh, you little freak.